Hi, I'm Stephanie Anderson.
Hey, I'm Ron Blue.
My name is Deja Moore. My name is Faith Adeleke.
We're going to do our persuasive speech YouTube rehearsal. I'm going to go first. Imagine if you were bedridden, constantly relying on others to do simple tasks. What if you had a tube that went into your abdomen, to your stomach, just to provide nutrition because you can't or won't eat? All day you heard the constant sound of beeping from the machines that you were hooked up just to keep your organs functioning or you breathing. What if you were mentally aware of all the pain you constantly were in but unable to vocalize it? How would you want to die? A slow, painful, agonizing death or a painless, peaceful one? What if you could make a decision in your own right, legally, to end the suffering of you and your loved ones with the help of your physician with just some simple qualifications? I hope at the end of my speech you will at least consider the idea, regardless of your beliefs and values, that the individual, not the government, as long as the required qualifications have been met, has the right to choose death with dignity. I hope that you will take to heart what I am saying, contact your local and state representatives, emphasizing them your right to death with dignity, urging them to address the issue of inequality of terminally ill patients nationwide, as PAD is only legal in 5 states. According to CompassionSandChoices.org, the leading nonprofit organization helping everyone have the best death possible, giving a fading patient the opportunity for a peaceful and dignified death is not suicide. Suicide is an act by people with severe depression or other mental problems. PAD, physician-assisted death, first became legal in Oregon in 1997 with the Death with Dignity Act. According to Oregon.gov, this act stated it was legal for a physician to prescribe a lethal dose of medication to be administered by the patients themselves. It was 11 years later that the state of Washington adopted this law, but soon after, in 2009, Montana, Vermont in 2013, and most recently, New Mexico in 2014. But when will the rest of the United States come around? Now, these states don't disallow anyone to be provided the medications and their suffering. There are some qualifications that come along with the law. First, you must be an adult, 18 years of age or older. Second, you must be a resident of the state. Third, you must be capable of making healthcare decisions. And last, you must be diagnosed with a terminal illness that will lead to death within 6 months. If you meet these requirements, then you're able to request a prescription for a lethal dose of medication to be administered by oneself. To receive this prescription, you must make 2 oral requests to your physician that is separated by 15 days. You must also provide written requests to your physician that is signed in the company of 2 witnesses. If your physician and a consulting physician both confirm your diagnosis and grave prognosis, and believe you to be capable of making healthcare decisions, then he or she will provide the medication. However, there is a clause that will allow the physician to require you to have a psychological evaluation if he or she feels that you are incapable of making that decision. Not all who receive the lethal dose follow through, as seen here in this bar graph put up by Death with Dignity National Center. The blue line is the number of DWDA prescriptions, while the red line shows the actual DWDA deaths. I believe it acts as a peace of mind. Those who have it can rest easy that when it gets too unbearable, too painful, they have a way out. But most times, the disease wins out. One person's story in particular that I've recently heard in the news as an example of a terminally ill patient having to uproot themselves just to be able to choose to die with dignity is Brittany Maynard. On CNN.com last year in November 2014, Brittany Maynard, who was a nurse from California, shared her story to be the last act she did for being a volunteer advocate for compassion and choices. She was diagnosed with severe brain cancer in 2014 with 6 months to live. Now, she and her family thought about their options. She could have extreme radiation that would singe off all her hair, give her first-degree burns on her scalp, to pain management and hospice that could potentially change her mood, alter her speech, or even become non-effective due to the high doses she would have been on. She and her family decided on PAD. And although she qualified for assisted suicide, she and her husband had to first relocate to Oregon and face monumental hurdles. She had to find a new home, new identification and registration like driver's ID and voter's ID card, new physicians, and her husband had to take a leave of absence for work. She was able to jump these hurdles, and Brittany died peacefully in November 2014 in the comfort of her own home. And she wanted her story told so she could try to change the thinking of the public so that others in her position could have a different outcome. Death with dignity is only legal in 5 states: Oregon, Washington, Montana, Vermont, and New Mexico. The qualifications for DWDA are a terminal illness with 6 months to live, a resident of the state, capable of making your own decisions. You have to have an oral written request for your physician, second opinion with a signed diagnosis. Once you are qualified, you can request the medication. Now, when will the rest of the United States come around? Please go home and think about what I have told you, talk with your loved ones, discuss how you would want to die. I urge you to contact your local and state representatives to emphasize your rights to death with dignity. I want you to pay attention at election times for those who will go about trying for change. I want you to vote for the right to death with dignity, no matter what state you live in. Thank you very much. Any questions?
Hello, my name is Deidre Lawrence. According to Forbes, today, it is 400% more expensive to go to college than it was 30 years ago. Which is why I believe the first 2 years of college should be paid for. College seems out of reach to numerous individuals looking to seek higher education. Data from the 2014 census indicated 10.4 million individuals are in debt due to student loans. The job market would increase if higher education was more predominant. Many low-income individuals cannot afford higher education. Tuition is at all-time high in 30 years. Individuals with limited financial resources feel college is out of reach. There are limited accommodations for people that do not meet certain standards. Tuition, goods, and expenses are too costly for the average individual. Job impact. If more individuals sought higher education, the workforce would be stronger. Eventually, those individuals will become employers. Employers who present more job